Imagine this. You wondered for years if you were different, if there was something about you that made you stand out from the rest. Maybe you felt disconnected from the ordinary, drawn toward the unknown, the divine. And then, one day, you realize the truth. You are chosen. But being chosen doesn't mean life will suddenly become easy. In fact, it means the opposite. You're about to enter a trial of unimaginable depth, a series of tests that will push you to the very edge of your being. These are not just tests of strength or endurance, but of the soul. The path to being accepted by Him, the divine presence, the ultimate source, requires you to face 7 spiritual tests that will break you down and rebuild you into something greater than you could ever imagine. The first test you'll face is the test of faith. This isn't just about believing in something greater than yourself. It's about trusting in the unknown, in the divine plan, even when everything around you is falling apart. You'll find yourself in situations where it feels like the ground has been ripped away from beneath your feet. Everything you thought you knew will be challenged, and in that moment, you'll be asked one simple yet profound question. Do you trust? Trust in what? Trust in the unseen. Trust that the universe, or Him, has a plan for you, even when nothing makes sense. It's easy to have faith when things are going well, but this test will come when you're at your lowest, when you're questioning everything you've ever believed. It will come when you're on your knees, broken, with no clear path forward. And in that moment, you'll have to choose. Do you cling to the illusion of control, or do you surrender to the divine will? This is not a test of blind belief. It's a test of deep, unwavering faith that transcends logic and reason.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Ask yourself, how deep is your faith? Will it hold when everything around you crumbles? Or will you let fear take its place? Once you've faced the test of faith, you'll be thrown into the test of suffering. This is where things get truly difficult. Every chosen one must walk through the fires of suffering, not because the divine is cruel, but because suffering is the crucible that purifies the soul. Every chosen one must walk through the fires of suffering, not vanishingly so mild, sated, irritated, and disappointed. You will experience pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual, that you never thought you could endure. It will feel unfair, relentless, and overwhelming. You'll wonder, why me? Why must I go through this? But here's the secret. Suffering is not a punishment. It's a tool. It strips away all the illusions, all the distractions, all the things you thought mattered but don't. It lays bare the truth of who you are. In suffering, you come face to face with your own vulnerabilities, your own limitations, and through that, you learn the art of surrender. You learn that nothing in this world is permanent, not your pain, not your joy, not even your identity. Everything is fleeting, and in that realization, you find peace. The question you'll need to answer in this test is, can you embrace your suffering? Not just survive it, but embrace it as a necessary part of your spiritual growth. Because only by embracing it can you transcend it. The third test is the test of temptation. This is where your resolve will be tested. As a chosen one, you'll be given opportunities, power, influence, and desires that can easily pull you off the path. You'll be tempted by the very things you've always wanted: money, fame, love, success. But here's the catch. These things will come with strings attached. They'll ask you to compromise your integrity, to betray your purpose, to forget who you truly are. Temptation is seductive because it speaks to the ego. It tells you that you deserve to have it all, that you can take the easy way out and still achieve your spiritual destiny. But the truth is, nothing worth having comes without sacrifice. To pass this test, you'll need to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up to stay on the path? Are you willing to let go of the fleeting pleasures of the material world in exchange for something much deeper, much more fulfilling? You'll be tested again and again. The temptations will come in many forms, often in ways you don't expect. It could be a relationship that pulls you away from your spiritual practice, or a career opportunity that offers you wealth but at the cost of your soul. The test is not about avoiding temptation altogether. It's about recognizing it for what it is and choosing to stay aligned with your higher purpose. Once you've faced temptation, you'll enter the test of patience. This test is perhaps the most subtle but no less challenging. As a chosen one, you'll be given a vision of your destiny, a glimpse of what awaits you once you've passed all the tests. But this vision will not manifest immediately. In fact, it may take years, even decades, to come to fruition. During this time, you'll be asked to wait, to trust in divine timing, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Patience is a virtue, but it's also a discipline. It requires you to let go of your need for control, to stop trying to force things to happen on your own timeline. The universe operates on its own schedule, and it doesn't care about your impatience. The chosen ones are those who can sit in the waiting, who can endure the frustration and uncertainty without losing faith. Ask yourself, can you wait? Can you stand in the emptiness, in the in-between, without losing hope? Because this is what the test of patience demands. It demands that you trust in the process, even when you can't see the outcome. The fifth test is the test of humility. As you progress on your spiritual journey, you'll inevitably gain wisdom, power, and insight. You'll begin to see things others cannot, to understand truths that are hidden from most. And with this knowledge comes the temptation to feel superior, to believe that you are somehow better, more enlightened, more worthy than those around you. This is the ego's final trap. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about recognizing that no matter how much you grow, you are still just a small part of a much larger whole. It's about serving others, not from a place of superiority, but from a place of deep compassion and understanding. To pass this test, you'll need to ask yourself, can you remain humble in the face of your own greatness? Can you use your gifts to lift others up rather than to elevate yourself? The sixth test is the test of love. This is perhaps the most profound of all the tests. Love is the ultimate expression of the divine, and as a chosen one, you are called to embody this love in its purest form. But love is not always easy. It requires vulnerability, sacrifice, and an openness to being hurt. You'll be asked to love not just those who love you, but those who are difficult to love. The question here is simple. Can you love unconditionally? Can you extend love even when it's not returned? Can you see the divine spark in every being, even those who have caused you pain? Finally, the seventh and final test is the test of surrender. This is the moment when you are asked to let go of everything: your desires, your fears, your attachments, even your identity as a chosen one. You are asked to surrender fully to the will of Him, to trust that whatever happens is exactly what is meant to happen. This is the ultimate act of faith, the final step on the path to being accepted by the divine. Are you ready to surrender? Are you ready to let go of everything you thought you were, everything you thought you wanted, in order to become what you were always meant to be? This is the final test, and it is the hardest. But once you pass it, you will be transformed. You will be accepted. You will be free. We've now reached the second part of our journey, and it's time to dive deep into the test of suffering. This is the moment where everything you think you know about yourself will be stripped away. It's not just about enduring pain. It's about understanding that suffering is an essential part of your transformation. You see, suffering is not random. It's not a punishment. It's a sacred tool, a fire that burns away all that is false, leaving behind only the purest version of who you are meant to become. But how do you endure such suffering? How do you stay strong when everything in your life feels like it's falling apart? Let's start with the most difficult truth. Suffering is inevitable. It's a universal experience, no matter how much we try to avoid it. And as a chosen one, your suffering will be more intense, more personal, because the greater your potential, the greater the challenges you must face. The suffering is not there to break you. It's there to awaken you. Ask yourself this: what is your relationship with pain? Most of us spend our lives trying to numb it, to run from it, to bury it under distractions, achievements, or even spiritual practices. But what if, instead, you allowed yourself to feel it fully? What if you let the pain wash over you, without resistance, without judgment? This is what the test of suffering requires, that you stop fighting the pain and start listening to it. Suffering, when embraced, becomes a powerful teacher. It shows you where you are still holding on, whether it's to old beliefs, past experiences, or your ego's need for control. Each moment of suffering is an invitation to let go, to release the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. And this is where the transformation begins. But here's the thing. You can't just intellectually know this. You must experience it. You must sit with your suffering, breathe into it, and ask yourself, what is this pain trying to show me? What part of myself have I been unwilling to face? Because suffering always points to a deeper truth. It's a signal that something inside of you needs to shift. And here's where the test gets even more intense. Once you start to face your suffering, you'll enter a phase of purification. This is when all the old wounds, all the buried emotions begin to surface. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it can feel overwhelming. But this is a necessary part of the process. You can't purify the soul without first bringing all the darkness to light. It's like cleaning out a wound. You have to go deep, even if it hurts. So, I ask you, are you willing to be purified by your suffering? Are you willing to let it break you open so that something new, something more authentic can emerge? Because this is the deeper purpose of suffering. It breaks down the walls you've built around your heart, the defenses you've constructed to protect yourself from pain. And in that breaking, you come to realize something profound. You are stronger than you ever imagined. There's a paradox here that many chosen ones struggle with. The more you resist suffering, the more it persists. But the moment you surrender to it, the moment you stop trying to escape, you find peace. This doesn't mean the pain will disappear. It means you'll stop identifying with it. You'll stop seeing it as something that's happening for you and start seeing it as something that's happening for you. Ask yourself again, what if your greatest suffering is actually your greatest blessing? What if the things that have caused you the most pain are the very things that are shaping you into the person you're meant to become? This shift in perspective is crucial if you want to pass this test. You must learn to see suffering not as an enemy, but as a guide. Now, let's talk about the practical side of this. How do you live through suffering in a way that transforms you rather than destroys you? First, you need to cultivate presence. When you're suffering, your mind will try to pull you into the past or the future. It will tell you stories about how things used to be, or how things might go wrong. But the only way through suffering is to stay grounded in the present moment, to feel the pain fully, without adding layers of thought or judgment. Second, you need to develop inner stillness. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend everything is fine. It means you create a space within yourself where you can witness the suffering without being consumed by it. Meditation, mindfulness, and breathwork are powerful tools for cultivating this stillness. They allow you to observe the pain rather than react to it. Finally, you need to practice self-compassion. The path of the chosen one is not easy, and there will be moments when you feel like you've failed. But remember this: every moment of suffering is an opportunity for growth. Be gentle with yourself. You are not meant to be perfect. You are meant to evolve, and evolution is messy. It requires patience, forgiveness, and a deep love for yourself, even in your darkest moments. So I'll leave you with this question. Can you love yourself, even when you're suffering? Because that, ultimately, is the key to passing this test. When you learn to love yourself in the midst of pain, you unlock a power within you that is unstoppable. You become unbreakable. And that is what it means to be a chosen one. Now that you understand the role of suffering, we move to a different kind of challenge, the test of temptation. This test is subtle, but it can be even more dangerous than suffering because it doesn't always appear as a struggle. Instead, temptation often comes dressed as comfort, success, or fulfillment of your deepest desires. It can feel like everything you've ever wanted is finally within reach. But there's a catch. These temptations will try to pull you away from your higher purpose, from the path that E has laid out for you. Temptation isn't inherently evil. It's part of the human experience. But for the chosen ones, temptation is a test of your willpower, your dedication, and your clarity. It's not about whether you can avoid all desires or pleasures. It's about whether you can resist the temptations that would derail your spiritual growth. The stakes are higher for you because the moment you accept that you are chosen, the universe will test just how committed you are to that path. The temptations you'll face won't necessarily be obvious. They won't always come in the form of greed, lust, or arrogance. They might be more subtle, more insidious. They might look like opportunities, like shortcuts to success, or comfort after a long period of struggle. But make no mistake, these temptations are designed to see if you're willing to sacrifice your long-term purpose for short-term gain. Ask yourself, what are the things in your life that tempt you to stray from your true path? Is it recognition? The need to feel important or validated? Maybe it's a relationship that feels so good in the moment but ultimately pulls you away from your spiritual practice. Or maybe it's the allure of material success, the belief that if you just have more money, more power, more influence, you could finally be happy. But here's the thing, the chosen ones are called to something higher. That doesn't mean you can't have success, love, or recognition. But it means that these things must come in alignment with your spiritual purpose, not at the expense of it. The test of temptation asks this: are you willing to stay true to your higher calling, even if it means walking away from something you deeply desire? This test can be excruciating. It's easy to convince yourself that you deserve the rewards that come your way, especially after enduring suffering. You might tell yourself that taking a tempting offer won't really pull you off course, that you can handle it, that you deserve some comfort after all you've been through. But remember, temptation is cunning. It will appeal to your ego, to that part of you that wants to be recognized, loved, and admired. It will whisper to you that taking this path or this opportunity will make your life easier. But the truth is, it's often a distraction. Let me ask you something. What would happen if you said no to the temptations that feel so enticing right now? What if, instead of taking the easy path, you chose the one that requires more patience, more discipline, more faith? What if the very thing you're being tempted with is not a reward, but a test to see if you can hold out for something greater? Temptation is not just about desire for material things. It can also come in the form of fear. Fear is one of the greatest temptations of all because it convinces you to stay small, to avoid risks, to not follow your calling. You may be tempted to stay in a comfortable job, relationship, or lifestyle because the unknown seems too frightening. But fear is a trickster, and it will tempt you to abandon your potential in exchange for safety. The chosen ones are those who recognize when they are being tempted by fear. They are the ones who, even when faced with the terror of the unknown, choose to move forward anyway. They understand that the path to spiritual fulfillment is not about playing it safe. It's about taking risks, about stepping into the unknown with faith that He will guide you even when you can't see the way. So, I ask you, what fears are tempting you right now? What voices are telling you to stay where you are, to not take that leap of faith? Can you recognize them for what they are? Temptations designed to keep you from your true path. And then there are the temptations that come from within. The ego loves to make you feel special, important, and superior. It will tempt you with the idea that because you are chosen, you are somehow better than others. It will convince you that your spiritual journey is more important than theirs, that you are more enlightened, more deserving of recognition. But this is the ego's greatest trick, and it's a trap that many chosen ones fall into. Humility is your greatest weapon against this temptation. As you grow spiritually, as you gain wisdom and insight, you must always remember that your purpose is not to elevate yourself above others, but to serve. The chosen ones are not those who lord their spiritual knowledge over others. They are the ones who use their gifts to uplift the world. Keep this in mind. The more you grow, the more humble you must become. This is the true test of the chosen. So, how do you resist temptation? First, you must cultivate awareness. You must become so attuned to your inner world that you can recognize when something is pulling you off course. This requires constant self-reflection, constant checking in with yourself to ask, am I still on the path? Am I making choices that align with my highest purpose? Or am I being tempted by something that will give me temporary satisfaction but steer me away from my destiny? Second, you need discipline. The path of the chosen one is not an easy one. It requires you to say no to things that might feel good in the moment, but will ultimately hinder your growth. It requires you to be patient, to trust that the rewards will come in their own time, in their own way, as long as you stay true to the path. Finally, you need faith. Faith that even when the temptations are strong, even when it feels like you're missing out on something good, you are exactly where you need to be. Faith that He will provide for you, that the universe will bring you everything you need to fulfill your purpose. If you stay true to your calling, conquer the complacent, content. So on this first Saturday, we're gonna dig out past the old dump. We've arrived at the final and perhaps the most profound test on the path of the chosen ones. After enduring suffering, resisting temptation, and mastering patience, there's one last trial that you must face: the test of surrender. This test is not about strength, endurance, or even wisdom. It's about letting go. It's about releasing the need to control, to understand, to even succeed on your own terms. This is the moment where you are asked to surrender everything to Him, to the divine, to the unknown, to the greater force that has been guiding you all along. Surrender is often misunderstood. People think it means giving up, or that it's a sign of weakness. But in truth, surrender is the ultimate act of strength. It takes more courage to let go of control than it does to hold on. And this is what the final test is all about. Can you trust in something greater than yourself? Can you give up your desire to control every outcome and allow the universe to guide you? Ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? What do you cling to because you are afraid to let go? It could be an idea of who you think you should be, or the life you expected to have. It could be your fears, your doubts, or even your ambitions. But to pass this test, you must be willing to release it all. Surrender doesn't mean you stop striving or that you no longer care about your spiritual journey. It means you stop trying to force things to happen. You stop believing that you are the one who must make everything work. You realize that there is a force much greater than you. Call it God, the universe, Him, that is orchestrating everything in ways you cannot possibly comprehend. And your role in this divine plan is not to control it, but to flow with it. Let me ask you something. What would it feel like to truly let go? To release all your worries, all your plans, all your need to control, and simply trust that what is meant for you will come to you in its own time, in its own way. This is the essence of surrender, trusting that the universe knows what it's doing, even when you don't. The challenge is that surrender requires a deep level of faith. It's easy to surrender when things are going well, when life is unfolding according to your expectations, but the real test comes when things fall apart, when nothing is going as planned, when you're faced with uncertainty, loss, or confusion. In those moments, your mind will scream at you to take control, to fix things, to find a way out. But the chosen ones are those who, even in the face of chaos, can say, I trust, I let go. But how do you cultivate this kind of faith? How do you learn to trust in the unseen when everything in your life is telling you to hold on tighter? First, you must accept that there are things you simply cannot control. You cannot control how others will perceive you, how they will treat you, or how life will unfold. You cannot control the timing of your own destiny, The sooner you accept this, the easier it becomes to surrender. Life is unpredictable, and the more you try to control it, the more frustrated and anxious you will become. But when you let go, when you allow life to unfold as it will, you open yourself up to miracles. You allow the divine to work in ways you could never have imagined. Second, you need to practice detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring or that you become apathetic. It means you stop being attached to specific outcomes. You still have dreams, goals, and desires, but you're not attached to how, when, or even if they come to fruition. You understand that everything is happening for your highest good, even if it doesn't look that way in the moment. Detachment is the key to inner peace because it frees you from the constant need to control and the disappointment that comes when things don't go as planned. Ask yourself, what are you most attached to? Is it a certain vision of your future? Is it the approval of others? Is it the need to succeed? Whatever it is, can you loosen your grip on it just a little? Can you trust that even if you don't get exactly what you want, you will still be exactly where you need to be? Finally, to surrender, you must cultivate deep trust in the universe. This is the hardest part because it requires you to have faith in something you cannot see, something that doesn't always make logical sense. But here's the truth. The universe is always working for your highest good. Even when you can't see it, even when things seem to be falling apart, there is a higher plan at work. You are being guided, protected, and led to where you are meant to be. And the more you trust this, the easier it becomes to surrender. Think of this. What would happen if you trusted the universe completely? What if you stopped trying to figure everything out and simply allowed life to unfold? What if you believed with every fiber of your being that everything is happening for a reason, and that reason is for your ultimate growth and fulfillment? Surrender is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice. Every day, you are given opportunities to let go of your plans, of your expectations, of your need to control. And every time you choose to surrender, you align yourself more deeply with the divine. You step into the flow of life, where miracles happen effortlessly, where peace and joy are your natural state, and where you are guided step by step toward your highest destiny. So, I leave you with this final question. Are you ready to surrender? Are you ready to let go of everything you thought you needed, everything you thought you had to control, and trust that you are being led exactly where you are meant to be? Because this is the final test. And once you pass it, once you truly let go, you will experience a level of peace and freedom that is beyond anything you've ever known. This is the ultimate victory. This is what it means to be accepted by Him,